gonna finish with my topic.
Okay,
if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
Colin Moriarty's not here, so somebody has to bring
Oh, okay.
the intellectual.
There you go. The glasses.
The intellectual glasses
Pulling
look.
a call in there.
And this hurts my eyes. I don't know why he does this. And then you look over here. So we're gonna talk, ladies and gentlemen, about a place near and dear to my heart. It's called Shakespeare's Pizza. It's in Columbia, Missouri. Many people know this. It opened in 1973, and it's been in the news lately. Now, the national news, perhaps not, but the Columbia news, but stick with me, all right? April 1st, no fooling, they post this article. Downtown Shakespeare's Pizza location slated for demolition. Now, what I will tell you, outsiders, and this is going to get to a broader topic, stick with me, is that Shakespeare's is like the Columbia, Missouri restaurant. This is, like I said, 1973, this place opened right at the edge of campus, right in front of the journalism school. I can't tell you the number of pizza and slices I've eaten in there, you know what I mean? Whether it be I order and carry it out or what there. And that's not me. That's everybody who went to Mizzou has that. I know. I forgot I was doing this. I usually drink out of a Shakespeare's cup or a CJ's cup. I'm using a CJ's cup.
Tighten the screws is all I'm saying.
Shut up, Nick. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're a piece of shit. Anyways.
It went here and then just down.
That's not going to help the theories that I hate you.
That was the best.
But no, I mean, like, legitimately, if you see me with the clear cup and the green writing, it's a Shakespeare's cup. Anyone who's ever been to Shakespeare's has one of those cups. People will identify them, call them out in the comments if they just run into us. Like, it's a thing, right? This is a Columbia landmark. So they announced that it's getting demolished, right? I'll read you some of the story here. For decades, it has stood as a small but iconic building at the corner of 9th and Elm Streets, and now developers are gearing up to tear it down. By the way, this is Alicia over at the Columbia Daily Tribune. Shakespeare's downtown location at 225 South 9th Street will move around the corner in late May in preparation for the building's demolition to make way for a multi-story structure with Shakespeare's as a ground floor tenant. So, not a clickbaity headline, but a scary headline when you read that, right? But what's happening is Shakespeare's, 1973, the building's being demolished. Shakespeare's, the company, will go to a building around the side while they build a multi-structured giant for Columbia, Missouri, high-rise standards, right, for things there. And so, as the article will go on, right, Shakespeare's will be the ground floor tenant, and it'll basically, in theory, it's going to look like the old Shakespeare's building with the apartments on top of it. The manager of Shakespeare's, Kurt, of course, known as the Big Cheese there. He says, quote, "We've taken 360 digital photos of the place. Basically, we're doing everything we can possibly do to just shy of numbering the bricks and taking it apart piece by piece." So the plan is to respect the tradition here, respect probably the facade, make it look the same outside, make it look the same on the inside, but build all this stuff out, right? I flip out about this. I immediately take to Twitter, and I say something like, "This is the worst news I've ever heard," and I had a doctor break the news that I have cancer to me. You know what I mean? Like, this is like...
Way to make light of cancer, Greg.
Hey, I'm allowed... I do.
Across America.
I had cancer. I can say what I want about
Fair
it.
enough.
And this is a bigger news story than when I had cancer. This affects more people. And so, this happens. I make that tweet. It gets put in the Kansas City Star in their roundup of basically people overreacting about Shakespeare's, the building being demolished. And kids on the Twitter, our fans, our best friends here, are tweeting me, and they're like, "I don't really get it. Like, the people aren't losing their jobs. No one's going to lose a job in this. They're moving it around. They're going to rebuild it." And I had to keep saying, well, it's not that they're rebuilding it or not. It's that they're just demolishing that building. I'll never have the memory of eating, pizza there with Kyle Koppas way too often during lunches and this, that, and the other, and all these stupid things. Like
Kyle Koppas, that son of a bitch.
All the memories I have about it. You know what I mean? Like, that's not my Shakespeare's. Because since I went to school there, Shakespeare's opened 2 more locations in Columbia, right? That you go into, and again, they're like the facsimile of Shakespeare's downtown. Like, they're newer, they're nicer, they try to make them look like it, but it's still like not my Shakespeare's.
I don't like when they feel like a TGI Fridays where you're like, it's exactly the same. On purpose. Where you're like, whoa, there's like the same pictures and shit. That's weird.
Tokyo.
Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, you're like, what the fuck? It's still the same boat.
Greg, this is a little too soon for me, just in general.
Yeah.
Oh, because your pizza place.
I had a recent loss in the family.
Right.
Where my favorite pizza place, Senora, is
Sparrows.
literally...
What?
Burned down.
What?
Just fucking with you. Go.
Just go. Keep going.
Sbarro's is gone too now. I don't like Sbarro's though. Senora's literally blew up when a car ran into the gas main.
Yeah.
Really?
And
But
it
what a
blew
way to
the fuck
go.
up.
What a way to go.
Out in San Bruno.
No shit.
Right by San
Yeah.
And you can
Santa
still
Monica.
drive. We
Right
drove
next
past
to
it
it,
yesterday.
And it's
2
just
days ago.
fucking exploded.
Was there people in there?
No, everyone was fine.
Jesus.
A fun aside to that story is the fact that Alexa Ray, Mitch's girlfriend, of course, GameSpot, friend of the show, and kind of funny. She tweeted the other day a conversation between her and Mitch on the phone where she was like, "I'm sick. I'm gonna order a pizza," and then it was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot my pizza place burned down." I was like, "Oh, I know where you ordered your pizza."
Yeah. It didn't just burn down; it exploded.
Yeah, I think that's what she said.
But yesterday I went to get Senores for the first time since then at their other location, and it's not the same.
Sure.
And it just
Well, that's the thing about Shakespeare's is like this could be urban legend, but I'm pretty sure it's not, that they never turn off their ovens. They just let them go at all times because they want it to be that hot. Because like it's down to a science. Shakespeare's pizza tastes a certain way, and what they had said is like when they opened the new locations, it took something like 9 months to a year to make the pizzas taste the same coming out of that oven, like to get that oven broken and do all this different stuff.
Is it one of the traditional ovens that like is a conveyor belt, or is it like a wood
No.
burner?
It's one you open it and you put
the big dog like cast iron
ovens.
ovens.
Like giant ones. I think it was just
I mean, you'll get there are those people that will think about like they like cooks will tell you like their pans have that sort of flavor to them, similar to the ovens where like so much of the molecules have been burnt off into there that it bakes like a certain flavor profile into all the crust and things like that. Now, you're still gonna get that though. You still got the oven.
That's neither here nor there. Yes, again, I don't think them moving the pizzas will taste different. It's just they're demolishing Mike Shakespeare. I'm not even to the thrust of my topic yet.
Okay.
This is just setting up what happens. This is the April 1st article. Oh my God, they're demolishing Shakespeare's. I tweet out. The Mizzou Nation tweets out their anger about this. Right. The basic message is, I hope they change their mind. I hope they see everyone's upset about this. That the dumpy building that I'm sure could be a million times better if they did it means something to us nostalgia-wise in terms of what Columbia and what Mizzou is and da-da-da-da. I hope the people who own the building see this. They change their mind. Here's where we go. Here's where things get interesting. This is again from the Columbia Daily Tribune. This one from Caitlin. This is 6 days later, April 7th. Proposed demolition moratorium may halt Shakespeare's downtown project. Prompted by public outcry over the planned demolition of Shakespeare's Pizza downtown, the Columbia City Council added a bill to its agenda Monday night to put a 6-month moratorium on demolition of downtown buildings in historic areas. The proposal, added to the agenda by a 4-2 vote, would delay processing demolition permit applications for downtown structures in areas included in the National Register of Historic Places, located at 9th and Elm Streets. Shakespeare's downtown location is included in that area and would be protected from demolition. This pisses me the fuck off.
Why? Isn't that what you wanted?
No, I don't want that. Like, first off, they demolish Shakespeare's no matter, and they build a new one. It'll be fine. I know that. It won't be my Shakespeare's. No big deal. I wanted the owner of the building, the private owner of the building. Because, again, Shakespeare's doesn't own the building. Shakespeare's rents it from someone.
Yeah, they rent it from someone.
Exactly. I wanted the owner of Shakespeare's to realize what he had and change his mind. I do not, under any circumstance, want the Columbia City Council to step in and say, all right, private business. No. You don't get to do that with your building. And so this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how much control do you think the city government should have on a private business?
The problem is this, though. Do you know that it's a privately owned building, or is it owned by a property management company that is not a person? Did the guy sell it a long time ago? You see what I'm saying? Because that would make a difference. If he did, then the city,
I want to give you the right information.
The city's only recourse would be to say we have to make this a statute. Now, otherwise, they're just going to do whatever they want because they have the state's not allowed really to come in unless it's deemed a historic property.
When was the building built?
That's a good question.
And it's brick.
How much pizza was sold?
If
Lots
it's
of
brick,
pizza.
High ceilings.
It is bricks. No, low ceilings.
Okay, tear it down.
Yeah, I mean, no, but that's a legitimate concern.
If it was high ceilings, man, don't touch that shit. You know,
that's a legitimate concern though, because a lot of those old brick buildings, like there's a famous one down in L.A. It's an Italian restaurant that I can't remember, but they have to come in and they have to do a lot of retrofitting to get those to be fire code. Otherwise, the building's
fire code. It's been open since 1970.
Earthquake code, which in Columbia you don't necessarily need to worry about. But yeah, in LA, like go into any brick building that's legitimately like freestanding brick building, and there's cross members put everywhere, steel things.
Well, here
like
too,
big things. Yeah, here too. That's a good point. But yeah, brick not the best way to build a building. Just FYI. Yeah. They back in the day they didn't plan those too properly.
I lost my place in the '94 quake.
Did you?
Well, it was in my apartment. Yeah, I had a rent control apartment. That's what's
that's the worst.
I had a 3-bedroom rent control apartment that I was paying nothing for in Studio City. It was like nothing was going to get me out of there, you know. But the quake did.
Shit,
they took that building out.
Yeah, I'm one of those schmucks that has earthquake insurance.
Yeah, well, I did too.
Yeah.
And
did
I
it
had
cover
apartment insurance, but I couldn't believe it. I actually got a check from FEMA
Really?
Yeah, FEMA was like, "Oh, you're a victim. Okay, here."
I
was like, "No way!"
Yeah,
wow.
I got.
Wow.
I
thought
got
FEMA was like,
some real
the dark
shit.
side.
I guess that is real
Here we
shit,
go.
though.
No, yeah, it was real.
I got earthquake insurance, and the guy was like, "I have to sell you. Like, I want to sell you a fire insurance policy as well." And I was like, "I mean, I when it comes to those things, I get really scared, so I buy all of them and end up spending way too much money on insurance." But they said that because a lot of people's houses don't get destroyed by the earthquakes, what happens is a fire starts, and the fire will burn your house down, and you're like, and then the earthquake insurance won't cover it because they're like, no, technically it's fire damage,
right?
And you're like, well, that's shit.
That's some bullshit.
Or the sprinklers go off and then it's water damage, and you're like, but come on, but insurance companies are shitheads. Don't deal with them if you don't have to. I don't know, Greg. That's interesting. I mean, you're part of. You basically just cost someone a lot of money because of that tweet. About
No, I didn't. It was already there, and they should have known it was coming. Obviously, they should have.
It seems like it was your fault.
Yeah, well, I don't care. I'll take it. But that's the thing is, I did contribute to it. Obviously, they all saw my tweet and understood they had to change things. But I don't want them changing it this way. You know what I mean?
Someone related this to cancer.
So what was your next tweet?
Here it is. See, yeah, it's not. It's owned by the Odell brothers and the Rader family, which I assume means it's just that they broke into marriage. That's how it worked.
Right.
So it's not. It's privately held by a family.
Okay.
So that's the thing. And
Yeah,
now,
so they were probably like, hey, we want to get rid of this building.
No, wait a minute. That's got high ceilings.
well, I mean, it's not like vaulted ceilings.
No, but they're 10 plus feet. That's real. It's not like New England old 7 foot.
There you go. That's
ceilings.
what I mean. That's a
That's
better
pretty
view.
high ceilings, Greg. I mean, your idea of high ceilings.
I guess we all have.
that place.
I mean, it's one floor. I didn't
They
know.
got the tin roof. The old
like
style
That's a
tin
really
roof.
pretty building.
I know, right?
That's unfortunate.
And it's gonna be gone.
See, now I'm all for the historic, the brick, the old, the warehouse.
Right,
I love
right.
it. I think it's the best aesthetic. When you redo it, I'm all for it, right? But I'm not all for like, oh, we can't turn down that Chinese food place because it's been here since 1910. And you're like, it's a shitty place with a shitty sign. It's always been that way, and now you're labeling a historic monument, and now no one can improve this area,
right?
Like that shit happens.
Yeah, it's called progress, everyone.
And the thing about it, though, is they're talking about in historic areas. I'm just rereading everything here as I go, right? That a moratorium on demolition of downtown buildings in historic areas. That is totally bullshit because like all around Shakespeare, shit has been demolished and rebuilt. It's not like this is some pristine like walk back to 1973 or 6 or whatever. It's like no, Shakespeare's is now one of like the last rickety looking build. Not even rickety. It's a nice building. You know what I mean? It's the last building there with character.
That building, yeah, but it looks like it was built like really early, like 40s or 50s. Would be my guess on that brick. Like I don't know because you said it was 70s, but I don't think
that's when Shakespeare's opened.
It's not a 70s. That looks like it's older architecture.
Oh yeah.
Because they don't build.
That does not look worth preserving.
Again, it's
wait a minute. Maybe
It kind of is. I mean, look at it. It's kind of a classic. I mean,
it's classic for
they
sure.
They don't make buildings like that. There's a whole part of Orange County. Orange County. That it is a historic district because all of the houses are like old school Orange County, and there's parts of LA that are like that too. And it's nice to do that. It's nice to preserve those. Having said that, I like what they do in San Francisco, where they'll preserve a portion of the building, but they'll like a lot of the times they'll preserve the facade of it, the original brick facade, but then they'll build something around it,
like Dolby's facility or something.
Yeah,
amazing,
which is awesome. Or there's a new
Autodesk has done it with a few that are old warehouses, and then they have certain tricks of glass on the outside.
Yeah,
like they're combining it. You see a lot of it in Europe and England. Beautiful ways to do it. When they go, no, you can't change anything. It's kind of like progress.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. You got to just kind of get over it, right? Because like that building, I don't know. Like I know it's probably a lot more expensive than to just demolish the entire block and build from new. But like I do like this is a part of San Francisco developers that come in and say we're just gonna build on top of it. Like you're still gonna have sort of some of the existing structure, but oftentimes the problem is when these guys build things, they'll go in and look at the foundation and it's just cracked as shit. And it's bad. And like to build anything on top of it would be structurally unsound. And so you just can't do it. You got to demolish, pour all new foundation, and go from there.
So still looking for how old the building itself is. It's here on the demolition application. Is the building or structure to be demolished more than 50 years old? Yes.
Yeah.
Is the building structure in a historic district, is it a landmark, or has it otherwise been recognized as historically significant? No, is what it's been checked on the application.
But it's the best pizza.
It is. Well, that's 100% correct.
Clearly, the standards are just...
That's the thing is like that's what I'm saying is it feels like knee-jerk reaction from local politicians to the nostalgia of it's not to mention Columbia citizens, but also alumni of Mizzou or whatever. It was one of those things where I went from being not jokingly, but like, oh, that sucks, they're gonna demolish Shakespeare's, but whatever, it'll still be Shakespeare's, to like now legitimately upset that they're trying to stand in the way of these people. I don't think they should do this. Private business should be okay. I feel like they're trying to change. They're putting this moratorium on it, probably to set some freaking rules up to deem Shakespeare's historic, to protect it that way. It's a bunch of bureaucratic stuff. I don't like it one bit. The city council's too big for its britches, Lauren.
I hear you.
So I'm just happy for Shakespeare's. It sounds like they're gonna make a lot of money from this shit. Because now it's like they're fucking making headlines and stuff, and now it's a national monument and all this stuff. It's like,
I mean, Shakespeare's prints money hand over fist.
Yeah, but
It's the most
money.
successful local business in Columbia, Missouri.
That's great, but I feel bad for the people that own the building because
Now they're
I
getting
don't know the laws or legality of how you can sell a historic landmark. And there might be some zoning issues. I don't know this for sure, but there might be some. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of weird regulation that says they have to sell it to the state, which might be okay because they might buy it for top dollar. But I don't know. That's really weird. Like,
That's been happening a lot lately.
yeah, I mean, like if you want to sell it to a private developer, it's whatever you negotiate the price for, and they can do whatever the hell they want with it. But like when it becomes a historic landmark, there might be some very interesting like loopholes you have to jump or hoops you have to jump through on that. I will say this, Greg.
Yes, please do.
About 3 months ago, they closed a place that was near and dear to my heart. Now, it wasn't because it was a
Taco
historic landmark, but if I could have gotten a historic landmark status, I would have.
Yeah.
All-Star Donuts on Chestnut Street.
Well, of course.
And
Well, of course.
the reason this place is so iconic was A, it was one of the best donuts in the city, hands down. B, open 24 hours a day.
wait, it's gone?
Gone.
The one on Chestnut.
Gone. The sign's still there, which is the saddest thing because the sign remains there unlit all day, every day, all
It's like
night.
a tombstone.
And it's terrible.
upsetting.
And they're gonna, you know what the shit thing is, because the association on Chestnut Street sucks. Because there's, every neighborhood has associations where they get to vote what comes in, and oftentimes the only places that can afford it now are big corporate chain stores, which prior to I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, you weren't even allowed to have. Apple being on that street is amazing to me that they even got that space. Now there's a Nike store. Now there's all this other stuff in that neighborhood. But yeah, what happened was their lease was finally up. And they went to renegotiate, and they asked for something so astronomical. The donut store was like, "We can't cover that. Sorry, we got to go." And they had to leave. And now they're putting something else in there, which I'm sure will be another delicatessen bakery that'll sit there for about a year before the owner goes, "Well, shit, we are not making any money on this, and we gotta close this down." And then
Let's start
eventually,
making apps. And then they
What's
go do
that?
Then they go make apps.
yeah, then they'll go make apps. What I want is, I mean, it sucks because you literally this thing was a staple for me in the city. Like we would party in the marina, we'd go get a donut. Or whatever the hell you wanted to make. You should make a sandwich and all that stuff too. And they were good donuts. And it sucks.
Apple fritters were good there.
Because if I could have gotten that historic status, I totally would have. Because it's also one of those old school buildings. You can tell that's a building that was made when this neighborhood was formed. So
Here's the area I'm excited about is Dogpatch. So if you take that historic district, and if they don't knock it down, and I think they now have all the ordinances to rebuild it. They've got the permissions to redo it. But now you've got hundreds of thousands of square feet of old. Some of these buildings are built in the 1830s and 40s, right?
The big
amazing
old,
the biggest shipyard of old historic buildings grouped together west of the Mississippi.
interesting.
Right? And I've been down there because I'm trying to figure out what they're going to do and hopefully, coordinate some plans with it. But finding that old warehouse-like living space is so impossible, right? But it's a gorgeous aesthetic. You can't redo it. I mean, I live in a house that's got reclaimed wood. It's post and beam. It feels like that way. It's hard to do, right? There's only so much of it out there. You get into different things. But if you can get into a warehouse where it was built a couple hundred years ago, or if it's earthquake reinforced but using wood beams on bridge structures, wow, it just is like layering on the gorgeousness. You know? You can't build like that anymore. You can't cut beams like that anymore. There's beams that are like, you just can't. They don't do it.
We're in a similar situation. A lot of people always ask us, man, how did you find the one castle in San Francisco with these bricks back here?
We had to look for it,
we did
actually.
It was hard. And
We looked specifically. We put an ad
There
up
you
there
go.
that said, if you have a room for rent in your castle, in your Scottish
come
castle,
shoot there.
let us shoot there. The
I've
more it
never
looks like
thought about
Highlander, the
this as
better.
a castle, but I really like
what
that.
do you think it is? What do you
We're in
think?
a
of
fucking
it?
castle.
What do you
We
think of it?
should
It's
do
wrong.
a little fake. What do they call it? The arrow where you can shoot the arrows out of it.
Traps.
The turrets.
You know what I mean? The holes,
little
the windows they cut. So
the
like the
little
yeah.
cross windows.
Not a
Yeah,
fake
yeah.
one. We should do a real one. It'll be good to protect the moat.
This is why we like you.
I always loved. I always
Like
loved. I
Kevin,
always
like
loved the
this
O.
like
The O of.
See, this is
the
what you can do for
disappointment.
people stealing the garbage.
Exactly.
Pour boiling oil on
I
them.
like this.
Whenever we bring
getting
somebody
somewhere.
who's watched this show into this room for the first time,
Yeah,
this is
really
this is the
small.
room. It's so much bigger on camera.
That's fortunate though for you. I hope that works out for you.
Yeah,
There was some
me
really
too,
cool
me
stuff
too.
happening when we go to E3. We used to stay in Airbnbs, and I stayed in an Airbnb that was an old like textile warehouse, and they
And they had long rows.
Yeah, it's weird. And they came in and obviously they had to build all the infrastructure, and they made it into like condos.
Yeah.
That were some were like studios, some were like 2 bedrooms, stuff like that. But it's just cool what you can do when you've got that space. So I don't know. I'm also very partial to warehouses because in the movies, all the cool stuff, interesting stuff happens in warehouses.
Yeah.
Most
definitely.
of the that's where all the stuff's dealt out.
Definitely.
You know?
Oh yeah.
A lot of good scenes from Breaking Bad happen in warehouses.
You store things.
Well, they're untouchable. I saw them first. I really got turned on to it. I mean, I grew up in New England, so there was a lot of, fishing villages type of things where there was still old shipyards and stuff. And that was interesting. But going to school in New York in the 80s and seeing Soho was like, wow, that was the first time I saw artists had studios and their own gallery, or they had the space, and they got there early when I was working there, it was still scary at night. Now it's untouchable. A loft will cost,
Thanks, Giuliani.
a big loft. It's weird because for a fascist, he actually cleaned up the city, which was kind of scary to me. I was like, this guy's such a prick, but the city's better.
Damn it, I hate it, but I love him.
What happened to all those homeless people? No one knew, and that was really scary.
I always thought it was cool when you see those old lofts, right? They're just big open spaces, and they'd have the big freight elevators, and you'd see movies where people would ride their motorcycle onto the freight
And
elevator.
that's what I'm talking
and
about.
just ride it up and then park it in your house.
Yeah.
That was just always cool to me. Like
That's
real world
necessary.
shit.
there was one.
Did you ever see Diva, the movie Diva?
No.
The French movie? Oh, it's great. It's got one of
I'll
those
check it
scenes,
out.
yeah.
The one that comes to mind, obviously, it's not an old 80s movie, but for some reason, the Tron Legacy popped in my brain because he had like a warehouse style apartment that he could just ride up the dock onto and park his motorcycle and like open the roll door, and it was just like that was his apartment. I'm like, that's awesome. I want something like that. But in San Francisco, it would cost you about $10 million, or like not that much. It would cost you maybe like $2 million maybe to get like a big loft.
Basically, that's
Yeah.
entry. Yeah.
Yeah, small. I'm talking like studio loft.
Yeah.
So it's too crazy, but I don't know. I think the real estate market up here is insane. All up and down the peninsula, all up into the.
But I don't see it changing.
It's not going to. It's just going to keep going
Until
up.
like another internet bubble bursts. And,
Yeah, but the
developers
problem was-
can't afford that stuff, but that's not gonna happen.
The problem was even when it burst in 2008 and like the period he's talking about, everywhere else in the country dropped down to the bottom. San Francisco, like me.
It did.
But I mean,
It
I got
dipped.
to live in that awesome high rise. Like, I mean, it did. There was a change for sure.
That's true, and a lot of places couldn't develop, so there was a lot of development that had to halt. But I mean, the rest of the country is still catching up. And we're building Twitter buildings for Twitter right now.
Right.
Like, oh, you work at Twitter?
Teams.
Here's your building that you
Right.
can live in right across the street
Right.
from Twitter. It's like, are you kidding
And
me?
you got all these companies. I mean, just take the slate right from the tech, from the chip companies to Intel, Nvidia, and then you get into the gaming space. You got the EAs, you got everybody else around. Then you get into the film space. You got Pixar, you got effects companies, you got that.
Yeah.
And then you get into the YouTubes, the Googles, the Facebooks,
The kind of
the
funny-
Twitters.
yeah.
These are all
Right.
already they're already public companies. They've already gone through their burst. Right,
Right.
now they're
Right,
really
right.
just on the growth, sustainability.
Right.
Well, not really sustainable. You know what I mean? They're on their trajectory of just make more, but they're all just dominating more and more market share as they go. None are falling off the tree, right? And here we have a community where the whole world is interfacing basically through San Francisco. I mean, their wires aren't actually going there, but all the software they're using is.
Sure.
All the
Square
management, yeah.
changing the world, Uber changing the world. Did Uber start here? I thought it did, didn't it? So you've got like this tech, aside from Port City, like you've got these emergences of different things that are so tight and there's so little space. It's like, what's going to happen? And it's surrounded by hills, so you can only build. I remember hearing Bob Hope tell, like there was young, I was reading books on the history of LA, the music business, and it was people saying, well, I asked Bob Hope, I was a young, successful actor, and I asked Bob Hope, how do I invest in LA? And they said, go to where the roads stop and start buying.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was their model.
That's smart.
To buy LA. It was like, just go to where the neighborhoods start and start buying, and eventually it's going to be worth something.
And eventually catch up, yeah. But unfortunately, you can't do that anymore here.
Yeah.
Because now all they can do is like they face the same problem they face in like places like Japan and Tokyo, where they can
gotta
just
go
build
up. Yeah.
You can't
In
build
New
out
York.
anymore. Or you can try, I guess, to make fake land like they did with the marina, but
I just got
that's
back
just gonna sink into them.
from Singapore, and they and it was a few miles bigger than the last time I was there.
Really?
And they call it reclaiming, which is
Yeah.
interesting. Because what are you
We're
reclaiming?
taking it back from the
You
water.
ever had it in the first place? No.
Yeah.
But it's actually quite interesting. I mean, that as a country is very interesting. We could learn so much from what they do. But they're just building more stuff. The hotel I was staying on was basically water. It was water last time I was there 20 years ago.
Wow.
Now it's one of the most
Just
insane
build
hotels in the
land.
world.
Yeah, I mean, you say the old adage for real estate is like it's the best investment because God's not going to make any more land. right? Like there's a finite amount of land and space that you can technically buy on. But I guess that's not true anymore. I guess we can start building out into the ocean and seeping our draining our seas so we can.
Well, that's
make
what
more.
you're talking before. Like air rights became something. I was living in New York, and then they built a building next to us above a school. So it was a private school that decided to sell their air rights, and I think they sold the air rights for $14 million. And all they had to do was basically shut up, not get hit by shit that fell down, and let the school build around them and over them. And literally it became like this glass tower, enormous, but the private school was still that same school underneath with some more support beams running through it. And they got, they sold those air rights for $14 million.
Shit.
Kevin, let's sell some air rights.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah, you're in? All right, good. Ladies and gentlemen, that's another episode of the Game Over Greggy Show. Lauren, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love you guys. Thanks for having me.
Please, it was our pleasure. Follow him. His Twitter's been popping up all the way over there. If you're listening at home, it's Lauren_Lanning. Buy Oddworld. Support him. He's making more. He's being dodgy about what happens after.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please keep us in business.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, it's our pleasure. You were great today. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Actually, hey, it's my pleasure. It's great to be here. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, the Game Over Greggy Show is simple. Each and every week, 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather around this table, each bringing a random topic of discussion for your amusement. If you like that, you can throw us a few bucks on patreon.com/kindafunny and get the episodes each and every week on Friday. If you don't want to give us any money, no big deal. Head over to youtube.com/kindafunny, where each topic is broken out day by day until we post the entire show on Friday as an MP3 and, of course, a full-on video. Until next time, Tim's going to Burning Man.
Oh, yes.
Yes, it's finally happening.
Go.
Spring break forever. Spring naked girls. Oh my God. Sushi bars. No, sake bars.
I wouldn't eat sushi bars in
the
Burning
desert.
Man.